Next on Worcester News Tonight, Governor Charlie Baker signing a bill into law, changing the workplace for years to come. Plus, Massachusetts senators passing a bill allowing to identify as gender X on state IDs. We have reaction. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. Thursday, Massachusetts senators passed a bill allowing residents to identify as gender X on forms of state identification. The legislation was written by Senator Karen Spilka after someone in her district wrote about the stress of having a gender on a driver's license. Tonight, we're hearing from supporters and opponents of the proposed bill. Our Cam Jandro joins us now live with more. Cam?
Anna, the Senate showed this item huge support, passing it 36-1, and the Registry of Motor Vehicles could initiate these changes as soon as November.
The Massachusetts Senate approves a bill which would allow state drivers to designate their gender as X, with no additional steps needed to choose the designation.
With Massachusetts providing the opportunity for a person to pick a non-binary marker for their identification provides an inclusive and welcoming environment.
The bill has already become law in Oregon, California, and Maine. Former Vice President of Worcester Pride, Deborah Drew, says putting gender X on identification helps the transgender community feel more comfortable.
It is something that I carry and you carry and people carry as identification and say, this is my representation and this is what the government recognizes me as being.
The legislation was sponsored by Senator Karen Spilka. In a statement, Spilka says, for those who do not fit neatly into the traditional categories of male or female, a non-binary option is a simple way to ensure their ID matches their true lived gender identity. But some believe forms of ID should not represent someone's gender identity.
How the next person is going to really know? I don't think it makes sense to not have gender offer any identification.
Drew feels gender X is a step in the right direction.
It's about success. It's about creating opportunities for everyone in the Commonwealth. It's about supporting the growth of business and employment and the opportunity to be able to live your life authentically.
Now, if passed, the changes could be used on state IDs as well as learner's permits, but now the bill heads to the House. Anna?
Thanks, Cam. In an effort to keep a series of ballot questions off the November ballot, Governor Charlie Baker signs the so-called Grand Bargain Bill Thursday. It increases minimum wage and adds in required paid leave. For many in Worcester, it's something they've been working on for years. Our Rosalind Flaherty has the story.
Wage and requiring paid leave for workers.
This is a really incredible victory.
It's going to give about 1 million workers an increase.
The so-called Grand Bargain Bill allows up to 12 weeks of paid family leave for all workers. It gradually increases the minimum wage from $11 to $15 an hour by 2023 and requires the state to hold a sales tax holiday every summer.
We really want to equip people with the access and opportunity to make a good life for themselves.
ASEFA and other advocates in Worcester collected signatures and spent countless hours trying to make it a reality.
We really got our community organized and we put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours to make sure that the State House knew what workers in their community wanted.
All workers in Massachusetts know if you're working 40 hours a week, you should be able to make a living wage.
City Councilor Christian King was one of the councilors backing up the legislation. He says the law will impact 40% of workers in Worcester.
It's going to help drive our economic development. You know, you see downtown a lot of things going on. We want to make sure everyone has a seat at the table.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
A finalized version of the red flag bill could also hit the governor's desk by the end of the week. The legislation would establish a way for family, friends, or law enforcement to ask the courts to suspend someone's gun license if they're deemed to be a risk. A compromise bill was filed last night, and the House plans to vote today, and the Senate could follow. The City of Worcester is offering extreme heat safety tips as over the next several days, the temperatures are expected to reach the 90s. Tips include reminding people to drink plenty of non-alcoholic fluids, limiting outdoor activities to morning or evening hours, to stay in the AC during the day if possible, and to wear lightweight, light-colored, loose-fitting clothes. The city's spray parks, pools, and beaches will be open to the public beginning Sunday, July 1st from noon to 7 every day during the summer. Though no state legislation has passed, Grafton is the latest town to jump on the plastic bag ban. As our Chandler Walsh explains, starting Sunday, businesses meeting certain requirements will be required to provide paper or reusable bags to customers.
The town of Grafton is using its last batch of plastic bags. A ban on them begins in just a few days.
We're trying to lead by example. We're trying to show that we are fully on board with trying to help with the environment and any baby steps that the town can make.
Businesses with more than 3,000 square feet or more than one location in town will need to provide paper or reusable bags. They'll be prohibited from offering single-use plastic ones. Grafton Selectman Sargon Hanna says the town has been working closely with businesses.
Maybe about 6 or 7 businesses in total, CVS, Stop and Shop, and they're already making all the proper changes.
Grafton is joining other Central Mass communities like Shrewsbury, Sturbridge, Westboro, and Worcester. They hope to pave the way for more. In Shrewsbury, the ban has been in effect for almost a year. Some shoppers there don't mind.
It didn't bother me at all. And I do get plastic bags at other stores, but I don't mind getting paper here.
As long as the paper bags are sturdy, we're good with it.
The Grafton ban came about through a petition of concerned citizens. The group recently created 1,500 reusable bags to help with the transition.
Give them to any people and they complain that it's expensive or, inconvenient. Here's a free bag. Say no to plastic.
Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
A local kombucha brewer is looking to expand his business here in Worcester. CEO and founder of Craft Tea, Matthew Glidden, began brewing the fermented tea at Three Cross Brewery, and soon after, stores around the area began carrying the brand. Glidden is now in the process of moving things out of Three Cross and into his new space located at the Sprinkler Factory building on Harlow Street.
Second floor, but on the first floor is going to be the new brewery. It's beautiful to look at. It's a fantastic space. I'm very happy to be there.
So what are the kind of... Glidden says he's in the process of getting his pouring permit and the health and building inspection. He says they expect to be up and running in just a few weeks. A central Massachusetts medical marijuana dispensary could become the state's first recreational shop. The Cannabis Control Commission plans to meet on Monday. The agenda is the item calling for regulators to vote on issuing a retail license to Cultivate Holdings in Leicester. Cultivate has been operating a medical marijuana dispensary in the town since late 2017. The agenda also calls for the commission to consider product manufacturing and transportation license for Sierra Naturals of Milford. Sierra became the first company licensed by the CCC 2 weeks ago. After a year and a half of learning to do something he knew how to do his whole life, a Worcester man was able to walk into his own home in January. Even though he only speaks Albanian, a team at Holy Trinity Nursing and Rehabilitation Center were able to get him back on his feet. Our Brittany Schaefer joins us now, has the story.
Oh. It was this moment which made a tough year-long journey all worth it.
He take many hours and many time with the rehab girls and help him so much.
Najazi lost both of his legs due to complications of diabetes, and at 72 years old, his goal was to learn to walk again.
Initially, the trauma of the leg loss is a big deal. So you're dealing with the emotional aspect as well as the physical. We have what we call phantom pain. So you still feel like your legs are there. We're dealing with balance issues, things that we take for granted.
Najazi spent countless hours with a team of physical and occupational therapists at Holy Trinity Nursing and Rehabilitation Center. Ajita Pawar says his journey wasn't an easy one.
He was status post-dialysis. I'm weak. I can't do it. It's hurting. But once he started to get more confidence in himself, started to stand up and walk and see for himself, as things just changed around. And then he couldn't have enough of it. He started coming more and more. I want to do it now. Do you have time now?
Powers says the Worcester man first started with parallel bars, then a walker and crutches. She says his motivation is inspirational.
When we walked him in the hallway, all the patients stood and cheered for him in the hallway.
See somebody, work so hard and have his work pay off and to accomplish his goals.
Najazi says he can now live at home again, but comes back to Holy Trinity often to thank everyone.
Definitely.
Thank you.
Najazi is currently waiting for a better fitting pair of prosthetic legs and says he can't wait to get back on his feet. Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
A city Democrat kicking off his state rep campaign for the 17th Worcester District Thursday. Stewart Loosemore says he's running because he wants to make sure the needs of the constituents in this district are met. He says with his experience working at the State House and the Worcester Regional Chamber of Commerce, he feels the mix of private sector and public service work will help him to make an effective impact.
I hear that from other parents when I'm picking my kids up at school, at soccer practice, at other of their activities. In Leicester, there's always the question around the multiple water districts and how we can get them to work better. And then it's jobs. I mean, jobs and education are kind of a continued staple across the spectrum. Everybody wants to make sure their kids get a great education, and they want to make sure there's a job for them and there's a job for their kids.
Loosemore says his plan now is to show up at every door in the district to introduce himself, hear their concerns, and ask for their vote.